Welcome to the Cinema Gold Show. I'm your host, Larry Leese. Today we're diving into the latest movie and TV news from around the industry, giving our review of Episode 6 of Marvel's What If, and continuing our series, Psych, a review of the series. But first, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Poddex, for sponsoring this episode. Check them out today at poddex.com. Use the promo code Larry21 for 10% off your first purchase. So let's dive right into episode 6 of What If. And warning, once again, spoilers in the coming review. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it and come back and watch this video or podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Episode 6 of Marvel's What If, entitled What If Killmonger Rescued Tony Stark? Might be the flattest episode to come out of the series so far, but it at least works in the way the other Disney Plus Marvel shows works. Takes a character from the MCU who didn't get quite enough time in the spotlight and gives us more. In this case, it's the charismatic Black Panther villain Killmonger. As he was only relevant to the Black Panther movie, we get to see the character step out of that bubble and interact with some other MCU mainstays. His connection with Tony Stark cheats the world out of Iron Man. But there's the question of whether the situation might have a positive effect on Killmonger's soul, like how his cousin T'Challa inspired Thanos and Yondu to be better people in a different alternate reality. Once that question is answered, the episode meanders until abruptly ending. If you've listened to our weekly What If reviews, you may already know that these pieces have their own unique format. It's more of a breakdown that we hope will satisfy diehard fans, but help bring those less familiar with the MCU up to speed. The two movies you need to see before watching this episode are Iron Man and Black Panther. The whole Nexus event of the episode revolves around Tony Stark's origin, but you don't need to check out his sequels. Here you may ask, is in the voice cast? Well, as we've said before, Jeffrey Wright is the Watcher. Michael B. Jordan is Killmonger. Chadwick Boseman is Black Panther. Angela Bassett is the Queen of Wakanda. John Caney is King T'Chaka. Andy Serkis is Ulysses Claw. Don Cheadle is James Rhodes. Jon Favreau is Happy. Paul Bettany is Jarvis. Leslie Bibb is Christine Everhart. Sadly, they replaced several characters in this episode with new voice actors. So Mick Wingert is Tony Stark. Beth Hoyt is Pepper Potts. Mike McGill is Thaddeus Ross. Cliff Vanderheuvel is Obadiah Stane, I guess Don Cheadle as James Rhodes also sort of counts here, but that's just splitting hairs. What's different, you may ask? The military career of Navy SEAL Eric Stevens, codenamed Killmonger, brings him to infiltrating the Ten Rings and uncovering a plan to capture Tony Stark and use him to arm the terrorist organization. Acting on this information, Killmonger appears during the Ten Rings' violent attempt to grab Stark. When the Stark-branded bomb lands near its creator, Stark is saved at the last minute by Killmonger, who throws the bomb into the distance and outguns the would-be kidnappers. In this reality, Stark's heart is never pierced with shrapnel, and he never finds himself having to build a robot suit in a cave with a box of scraps. He also doesn't learn his lesson as he chooses to continue making weapons and even doubles down on it. Killmonger earns his trust further by exposing Obadiah Stane as being part of the kidnapping plot. Stark chooses to promote Killmonger to Stane's old position, and he invests in an old idea of Killmonger's to create mech-like drones. Pepper Potts is uneasy about this feeling that Killmonger is hiding his true intentions. Drones can't be completed due to the lack of a viable power source. Stark considers arc reactor technology, but discards the idea as a pipe dream. Killmonger talks up how vibranium could do it and sacrifices his necklace heirloom to make it work. Inspired, Stark decides to set up a meeting with Ulysses Claw to buy more vibranium off the black market. James Rhodes acts on Stark's behalf, and that's when things break down. Black Panther interrupts the meeting to take back his country's vibranium. Killmonger appears, subdues both Black Panther and Rhodes, and kills them both. Though not before he chastises Rhodey for working for a broken system that oppresses people like them. He makes it appear that the two killed each other. Visits Stark, kills him, and spells it out that the two never truly shared the same vision. As Stark dies from a vibranium spear, the Dora Milaje is blamed and war begins to brew between the U.S. and Wakanda. Killmonger kills Claw and uses his corpse to enter Wakanda and earns the trust of his estranged royal family. He sets up a battle against the Stark drones and leads the Wakandans to victory. How does it work out? It's very open-ended, but it's a dour situation. King T'Chaka makes Killmonger the new Black Panther, and it's only a matter of time before Killmonger betrays his uncle and gets his long-awaited revenge, showing that even in this reality, Tony Stark inadvertently sets things in motion for T'Chaka getting assassinated. T'Challa confronts Killmonger in the Panther spirit realm and warns him that his actions will have dire consequences. Meanwhile, Shuri is not fooled by Killmonger's charms and works with Pepper Potts in hoping to expose Killmonger and prevent the war from escalating. And now this episode did have some standout moments. One of the absolute highlights is the moment of Stark looking over Killmonger's schematics for his drone idea, which look very Gundam-like. Killmonger sheepishly admits that he likes anime, which is a subtle in-universe way for the character to admit that his blue armored uniform is absolutely him trying to steal Vegetta's look. The press conference is incredibly satisfying, just in the sense that Killmonger shuts down Stain's games with receipts and confidence, easily nipping the problem in the butt. Happy punching Stain out cold is the icing on the cake. It makes me think how the plot of Iron Man is increasingly obvious for those who speak Urdu, as the Ten Rings terrorists straight up tell the viewer that Obadiah Stane is behind the kidnapping. Speaking of the Ten Rings, their involvement certainly feels like it has more weight to it after Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. How fitting that Killmonger would make such a strong foil to the Ten Rings leader Wenwu, who is also obsessed with a secretive and fantastic utopian society that considers him an outsider, despite a familial connection. We got our third Chadwick Boseman performance in the series, and once again, it hits hard in its own way. Star-Lord episode was like a celebration of T'Challa that talked up his potential to make the universe a better place. The zombie episode had him give a meaningful speech about remembering the dead and keeping their memories in your heart. Now we see T'Challa's casket and see him appear as a spirit. Also, man, for someone who's the key to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Iron Man has not been doing so good on this show. He's made 3 appearances so far, and he's died each time. The comic version of What If was never too kind to the likes of Magneto, Loki, Kingpin, or Beast. And now it looks like Stark is in their television counterpart. I think there's supposed to be an episode coming up about him ending up on Sakaar, so let's hope he does better that time around. And now we're going right to our review of Psych Season 2. I have a serious appreciation for Psych, which is why I have seen the entire series. The show is entertaining, and I am trying to differentiate between quality and enjoyment. Second season of Psych. The show is fairly repetitive in that the plots are episodic, not serialized. with often ridiculous cases and fun dialogue. But because the characters seldom develop and the show is so plot-based, it is more enjoyable than it is great. In fact, the show is fun, but it's hard to recommend anyone add it to their permanent collection as opposed to just watch the episodes. Psych, like Bones, Monk, is a series with a simple premise. Man solves crimes by being exceptionally observant and smart while pretending to be a psychic, with episodic plots whereby the characters find themselves in ridiculous situations that are resolved by the episode's end. There's no sense of consequence or growth in it. Instead, the show is more about this is the situation the characters get in this week. Gus and Sean find themselves involved in cases for the Santa Barbara Police Department that involves ridiculous circumstances or predicaments. In its second season, Psych is pretty much a typical detective show with a comedic undertone that is entertaining. In the second season of Psych, Sean and Gus try to save the life of a judge on American Duos who is hated by everyone. Sean appears to have gone off the deep end when he accuses the dinosaur of killing a man and has to go up against a treasury agent and psychic who are breaking up a counterfeiting ring. When a jockey is killed, the team has to figure out who committed the murder and why. As well as when a model is killed, the pair has to try to prevent a murder when a student at a prep school overhears a teacher planning a murder. Families of Gus and Sean become more embroiled with their cases when Gus's uncle, whom Burton is named after, comes to town and Gus has to pretend to be the psychic. Burton's parents are implicated in a murder and blackmail in their neighborhood, and the pair has to use Sean's father to break a missing persons case at a retirement home. Throughout the 16-episode season, Sean and Henry verbally spar frequently, and the relationship begins to progress with excruciating slowness. So, for example, in the penultimate episode of the season, Henry reveals to Sean that he is ready to start dating again. Sean becomes flustered by that, but it has taken almost 30 episodes before Henry is comfortable enough to let his son know he is ready to move on from the woman who abandoned him. More often than not, though, the jokes become plot convenient character revelations as opposed to something genuinely within the established character. So while a feud between Henry and Gus's parents might feel organic, Henry religiously watches a Mexican telenovela religiously, and mixing up Sean and his character in the show just seems cheap. It's also just much more predictable. Heck, the second season of Psych is quite a bit more predictable than the first season, though it is generally more enjoyable. While the show hinges on any number of reversals in this season, the show begins to truly telegraph itself. The show is fairly smart about such things, trying hard to make them work, but the more backstory that gets filled in, the less likely it seems that Gus and Sean would have remained such steadfast friends. That said, the cast of Psych is remarkably stable in the second season, bringing back all the main characters from the first season. And now, on to our project segment called Film Night. And the question is, do you go for popcorn or candy at the movie theater? Yeah, that's a tough one, actually. It depends. If it's kettle corn, I'll go for that. But if I don't really like just regular popcorn, so I'll go for candy most of the time. Now, if they do have the shakers of the kettle corn seasoning thing, I'll use those and get normal popcorn. But most of the time, it's candy. What do you go for, popcorn or candy at the movie theater? Let us know in the comments section below. If you want to become a support of the show, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/cinemagold. And as always, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold. Your support helps the show grow. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, by the way. Check out our videos over there, and there. We'll see you next time.